Hey, Steve Knoble, Knoble Moto. Back by popular demand, we've got the twin cam Heritage Softail up on the lift today, and we are going to do a 3-hole oil change on this thing. This is something that most anybody can do. You can do it on the Jiffy stand in your driveway. However, this one has been lowered, so it's a little closer to the ground. Problem being, my lift doesn't fit under it. My screw jack, that is, doesn't fit under it. And also, my normal drain pan doesn't fit under it. Now, I know they sell low-profile drain pans, but I don't have one. So, I want to be able to get underneath there easily with wrenches and all that jazz. So, in order to lift this thing up, it's going to be a multi-step process. I have the old-school car screw jack here. We're going to put that underneath the swing arm. Then we're going to jack the back end of the bike up a little bit. Then we can take the proper screw motorcycle jack right here, and we can slide it underneath. Now you ask, Steve, why don't you just use the screw jack in the back? Because the oil drain plug is right here for the engine oil. The transmission drain plug is right about there, and so is the primary drain plug. So you can't just slide a jack underneath the back of it because it will be in the way. You have to get the jack up here. And that means you're also going to be at the balance point of the motorcycle. So you need to be careful when you jack the thing up that you don't knock it off the lift, because that would suck. So make sure you got some good ratchet straps on there. Make sure you don't overstress them as you're jacking the bike up, so we will check them on a regular basis. If you have to move them, I recommend putting a second set on there. That way you can loosen one set, but the other set's already loose and it catches it and yada, yada, yada. Anyways. So yeah, we're going to do a 3-hole oil change on this. Yeah. So let's get it up in the air, and then we will move in for a closer look. However, if you didn't want to go through all that, you really could do this on the Jiffy stand in your driveway. The only downside is you have to lay on the ground. I don't like laying on the ground. Also, it makes for bad camera angles. So we're going to do it up on the lift, even if it does take a few more steps. Now, before you change your oil, you're going to want to start the bike up and let it run for 30 seconds or so, just to make sure all the oil is up into the tank and not sitting in the bottom of the engine case. Alright, so the drain plug is right here. Here's the swing arm, here's the frame rail, here's the bottom of the muffler bracket, and right there is the drain plug. This takes a 5/8 socket. Now here's a catch. Well, it takes a 5/8 socket. Lefty-loosey that thing out of there. But here's the catch. So there's not a lot of room here. So I got to carefully do this and then pull the oil pan underneath it. Otherwise, oil goes all over my lift again. Have to ignore the clicking noise. That is just the exhaust popping on the motorcycle. Now, to drain the primary oil, there's the drain plug right here. This takes a 5/8 socket. Just lefty-loosey that sucker right out of there. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but right before the drain plug comes out, I'm going to get the pan underneath it. Whoop, there we go. And primary oil is draining. So while the oil is draining, we're going to take off the clutch/derby cover. That way we can put new oil in it. And while we're at it, we'll give a good look around of everything that's in there. This takes a T27 Torx bit. And you want to break all of these free before you take them out. Keeps it from going crooked and possibly binding up on one of the screws and stripping one out. And of course, put all your screws in a safe location. Everything looks good on the inside of the primary cover. So we're just going to give this a good look around in here while we're in here. And Nothing seems discolored. Nothing looks like it's backed out. There's no metal shavings on anything. So just give it a good look down in there. Make sure everything looks still intact. You can't see a whole lot, but you should be able to still see the chain. Should be able to see, just the inside of the case. Make sure there's not a bunch of gunk in there. Make sure nothing on the chain doesn't have any weird wear marks or anything like that. That's pretty much it. When the oil is done draining, which it's down to a drip, so we're going to call that done. So we cleaned off the magnet that's here on the bottom right there, and put a new O-ring on there. And I'll put the link in the video description as to the O-ring that goes on here in case you need to buy a replacement. And so we're just going to thread this right back up in the bottom. Be careful you don't cross thread it. It's a fine threaded nut. You can run in there just snug with your finger. So the service manual on this says 14 to 21 foot-pounds. I have my torque wrench set to 17. And again, takes a 5/8 ratchet. Just run up there until it's tight, and then till it clicks right there. You're good to go. Now we add the oil. So normally I'm a big fan of using AMSOIL products for everything. However, the owner of this bike brought me Pan Am oil, which is a really good oil. You can get this from Lowbrow Customs. It's a really good oil. Pan Am, Lowbrow Customs sells it. Full synthetic, goes with motor, primary, and transmission, 2050. Can't go wrong with this stuff. Though if you want to buy it, you can go Lowbrow, or if you want to buy AMSOIL, there's a link in the video description. But either way, this takes 1 quart. So, carefully fill it up with 1 quart. Probably the only video on YouTube that plugs 2 brands of oil. It's just how we do it here at Knoble Moto. Then after that, we can reinstall the clutch/derby cover. I don't know why they call it a derby cover. Covers the clutch. I always felt it should be called a clutch cover. Either way, make sure your seal is in place. Make sure it's not popping out. Make sure it's not bound up, damaged in any way, shape, or form. Set your cover in place. Then you're going to want to start in all the screws. Don't put one in and tighten it down. It'll go crooked, and then you won't be able to get the rest of them to line up. Also, it won't seal properly. So you're going to want to run these in a crisscross pattern. You're going to want to torque them down in a crisscross pattern. What is a crisscross pattern, you ask? It's where you go from like there to there to there to there to there. Ideally, you want to bring it all down in even. Or you could say we're putting it in a pattern of a pentagram, or the sign of the wolf, or whatever your theistic views may be. Either way, run all the screws in there until they're snug. Then we're going to torque them all spec. And we're also going to torque them in that pattern. So we're going to torque these to 84 to 108 inch-pounds. Also in a crisscross pattern. There we go. Primary oil's changed. So now for transmission removal. That nut you see right dead center in the screen, in between the 2 shocks, is the transmission drain plug. Takes a 5/8 socket and probably an extension, and you're gonna have to put it up there and lefty-loosey that thing out of there, and then pull it out of the way as oil pours out. So you're probably gonna make a mess. So because of that, I can't have the camera, the light, the drain plug, my hand, and the sockets all in the same spot. So we're going to move the camera back on out a little ways. And we're going to get the drain plug in place, or the drain pan in place. And then we're probably going to have to do this blind. But it's not as bad as it looks. Put the socket up in there. So after I go through my extensions here, I found that 2 3-inch extensions is somehow or another shorter than 1 6-inch extension. Don't know how that happened, but it did. So either way, lefty-loosey that thing out of there. This is not nearly as difficult as it looks. I promise you, you can do this. Slide your drain pan under it, catch all your oil. Then as your oil is draining, and you inspect your drain plug, you will remember that there is a Allen screw in the center of this drain plug, and you could have done that without having to fight the socket up there, and it would have been infinitely easier. So, yeah, it takes a 1/4-inch Allen wrench, long 1/4-inch Allen wrench. Locate the drain plug with our finger first. Go off some muscle memory as to getting that thing threaded up in there. And you're going to torque this one to spec. Also 14 to 21 foot-pounds, and we are set at 17. Right there. Wiggle it out of there. Make sure your Allen socket came with it. You're ready to refill your transmission oil. Soak up the mess you made. So, to give an update here, I'm trying to remove the oil filter. It's turning into quite the process. My little 3-grabber jaw thing was slipping and crushing. So, I ended up taking... Let me get my phone out of the way here. I ended up taking a pair of needle nose pliers, jamming them through there with the end. An old cruddy set of needle nose pliers, that is. Spraying them apart. And I hammered on each end of the needle nose pliers to get them to go through the oil filter. Now we are taking the needle nose pliers in there with a big screwdriver with a pair of leverage, and we are slowly, very slowly, Jesus Christ, unthreading this oil filter off of here. There's a proper tension for how tight you're supposed to get oil filters. This ain't it. No oil filter ever needs to be this tight. Not ever. I've changed hundreds, probably thousands of oil filters on motorcycles, cars, and a bazillion of them on heavy equipment that had hydraulic systems on it. And never does it require that much force to get an oil filter off. That's absurd. No oil filter needs to be that tight that you have to put that many holes in it and have that much force coming out. Don't get discouraged. It's still a hurdle that you can overcome. But when you put your oil filter back on, please put it on properly. That way it's not a hurdle you have to cross. So right here we have a new oil filter. So we're going to take the plastic off the end of it. Pretty cool, huh? Now you'll see on these cool filters here, these ones made by K&N, they have the little nut on this end. So you can put it on there with a socket, and you can take it off with a socket. It takes like either a 5/8 or 17 millimeter socket. Yeah, I think it's 17 millimeter. Let me get the socket. So on the hopefully you can see this. On the side of some oil filters, it will have instructions. This filter that I have, that I'm actually not even sure what it's off of, I don't even know where it came from, but I have it. This filter shows, don't put oil in it. The next little diagram shows to thread it on there. Now, if you look at it in very small print, right there, I'm going to try and hold steady so you can zoom in on it. Second one up, or the middle one on the right, it says, it has a little circle arrow, like saying you turn it, and it says +3/4. +3/4. That means from the point this seal hits the face of the oil filter housing, or the mount, you turn it 3/4 of a turn more, and that is the proper torque spec. 3/4 of a turn. That's from when the seal first lightly makes contact with it. Not when it gets tight, when the seal first lightly makes contact. K&N did not put this on their package. Shame on you, K&N. It's on AMSOIL package, just saying. Take some clean new motor oil there, wipe it onto the seal. That will keep the seal from baking onto the engine case. Put it up in there. Oh wait. Before you do that, clean up the oil off the engine case that you just spilt down in there, taking the old filter off. A little bit of an oil film won't hurt anything, but you don't want a whole bunch run off of there. Then take your filter with the new oil on the seal and spin in there. You're going to feel it. Oh, it's starting to tighten up. So just thread it in, and you can look down from the top and see right about the point that seal makes contact. Then from there, it's about 1/4, another 1/4, 3/4. Right there. That's it. You saw I didn't torque the snot out of it. It's just on there. It's tight. It's good enough. It's not going anywhere. If you doubt that it may or may not be going anywhere, and if you're going to get really, 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 really freaked out about it, here's what you do. Get yourself a colored Sharpie. Any Sharpie, really. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a red Sharpie on black. It's hardly even visible. We're going to put a mark there at 12 o'clock. Now, when the owner of this bike does like a pre-ride walk around, they can look at that faint little mark there at 12 o'clock, and they know their oil filter is not backing off. Is that necessary? Not really if you torque it to spec, but if you're worried about it, that's the solution versus over-torquing the thing and angering the next guy, or yourself, or girl, or non-binary folk who has to take it off of there. End of rant. Let's go put the drain plug back in and put some oil in this thing. Now we're going to reinstall the drain plug. It's nice and clean. The surrounding area is nice and clean. It's got a nice O-ring on it. We're going to thread that up in there with our fingers. And we're going to torque this to 14 to 21 foot-pounds, or about 17. All right. Now, we can fill the engine oil. Now, normally I use AMSOIL products, but the owner of this bike brought me Pan Am oil. It's a really good oil. You can get it from Lowbrow Customs. It's full synthetic 2050, works in your engine, primary, and transmission. So, this is probably the only dual brand oil endorsement video on YouTube. Ain't that something? But it says 3 to 3.5 quarts in the manual, so we're going to put 3 in it. With the bike on the Jiffy stand, we will start it up, let it run for 30 seconds or so, turn it off, check the oil level. If everything looks good, we'll take it for a short ride and check it again. Add as needed, but it should be good to go. And of course, you will learn your bike and you will figure out how much oil your bike needs. Now we can refill the transmission oil. I see a bunch of crud around the fill plug there. So we're going to give it a little blast just to blow the crud away from the fill plug before I take it out of there. Now coincidentally, the easiest way I found to get this loose was a 30mm wrench. It was better than getting my fingertips in there. But from there, we can slide the fill cap out of there, and boy, they don't give you a lot of room there. Probably help if I had a smaller funnel, but we're going to make it work. Take our quart of oil and pour it down in there. Whoops. Spill a little bit trying to get it down in there because we need a different size funnel. There we go. So now we're going to check it. Now you need to check your transmission oil with your bike standing up straight. So you're either going to need a jack or a patient friend. So we're going to thread it all the way in there until the oil ring or the O-ring makes contact. And we're going to thread it back out of there. And we can check the oil level and dipstick. I don't know if you can see it on camera or not, but it is right at the upper full mark. Probably can't see it, but I can. So it is good to go. So we will put the drain plug back in there, or the fill cap back in there. Tighten it down. You don't need to torque the snot out of it. Just give it enough that the O-ring's compressing a little bit and it's tightening up. There you go. You're ready to go ride.